Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, our guest is Jerry Truman with RBC Wealth Management. Jerry has over 25 years of experience in financial advising. Welcome, Jerry. Appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, Gary, thank you and Small Business Advisors for taking the time to do this.
Sure. So tell us some about yourself. How did you get into financial planning and get into the career you're in now?
It's kind of always been in my blood, I guess you could say. From back to, I think, in 8th grade, I won some sort of stock contest at St. Joseph's there in Beltsville, Maryland, and always just had a love and interest in how the stock market worked, and always liked being around people. And I think I started working for a bank while I was going to the University of Maryland at Citizens Bank then, which is now, through a bunch of mergers, Truist Bank, and just kind of led me into a path of being able to work on the investment side and work with individuals and businesses and helping them navigate their investment world, as well as helping them manage their portfolios. So
over the time of you starting out into first banking and then going to Maryland and then moving into the financial planning, what's some of the best advice that you've been given during this time?
Well, some mentors. I think in any profession that you're in, having mentors along the way, and some of those mentors are my parents. So my dad used to always say, and he still does, God gave you 2 ears and one mouth for one reason. Listen twice as much as you talk. And I've kind of taken that to root. I think that's an important feature, not just in business but in life, and being able to listen to people and really try to understand and ask poignant questions to really make to dig deep about what's important to their life about them and what's important about their money and how they want it to work for them.
So, obviously you've been doing this for a number of years. So what is it that you know now that you wish you knew when you first got into the business?
Yeah, I would say unequivocally, I have been, until probably the last 5 to 10 years, a slow adopter of technology. And I think that's, I think people become creatures of habits when they're doing things. And I think it's important as a business owner, or you're running a business, or just in your personal life, is being open-minded and adapting to new technologies and new advancement. And as much as sometimes I hate to admit it, sometimes my 17-year-old is the one giving me some tips about life, and a lot of times it's coming from how social media works or how new technology works. And I think it's just I wish I would have been an early adopter to certain technologies sooner, but I've definitely embraced those now, and our team at Truman Wealth Management with Nicole and Steve, we've done that too. So it's been nice to have your eyes opened, I guess you could say.
So what are some of the questions that the clients or potential clients that you meet with really should be asking you that they're not asking you?
Well, I think the main thing, and I think this probably goes along with your business and any business owner, if you're going to do business with somebody and you're going to be in a trusted position, whether it's a trusted CPA, an attorney, an estate planner, a financial advisor, whatever that trusted position is, you should know what their plan is for their business. So I think too few people forget that, if you're with a financial advisor who's thinking that he's going to retire in 5 years, probably not much help for you, right? I mean, the idea is that the individual should be interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing the client or the business, and I think having an open line of communication about what the strategy is for your business and how you run your business is important. And I think clients, I think a lot of times, or prospects, um, try to understand the expectations after you've met with your financial advisor. Is it meeting once every 2 years? Is it meeting every quarter? What is the expectation, and are they going to follow through with it? So, we, with Nicole and Steve and I, we have a plan that we stay in touch with our clients, as often as they want, and sometimes more. So, and that's on a case by case basis. It's not one size fits all. So I think that's important for individuals and businesses to understand.
So, you talk about, kind of setting the client expectation and things like that. When someone chooses a financial advisor and doing business with them, how often do you think that they need to meet? I mean, I talk to estate attorneys and stuff like that. Lots of times they say, hey, we need to meet, when there's life changes and so forth. And then, okay, maybe it's once every 5 years. I mean, how is that with the financial planning side? I mean, how often, do you think that the client should be meeting?
It's a contact sport is basically the way I look at it. I mean, the more contact you have with your client, the better service that you're going to give them in whatever the scenario is. So I always think more is better. And I think our clients have gravitated towards that also. And look, everybody's in a different situation. So it's really custom fit to that client and that perspective. I don't think it's, at minimum, you should be talking to them once a year, or her. But whether it's, conference calls, emails, events, whatever the scenario might be, or whatever's out there, what we try to do is give our clients not just the opportunity to set a time to go over and review their portfolio, but like we did a month ago, we did an election call. And what the, whatever the outcome of the election was, how does that affect your portfolio? So it's little things like that maybe 20 or so people participate in that call. So there's little things that along the way that will help people spark ideas, because I think, as as a CPA and working with businesses and individuals as accountants, the biggest hurdle I think for a lot of people to do is to be in that moment when they're talking to you. Their brains are scattered. They're all over the place. They got their kids, they got their business, they got a pandemic, right? You've got all these things going on. And if you really don't take that time to listen to people and ask questions and really dig into their situation, you're really not going to find out what they really need or want. And that, at the end of the day, it's that's what drives the plan, is the individual. And the more they're willing to share, and the more poignant questions that you and I are asking our clients, the better job we can do for them.
Right. I mean, I like the idea that what you're saying is it's more, I'm going to say, customized to the client. It's not cookie cutter. You're not, just throwing everybody in the same thing and okay, next. I find that so many times, that really happens, and then I don't want to say that they lose their identity, but they become a number then, and it's not a relationship. So, what are some of the biggest fears that or concerns that your clients have, and how do you try to address those?
Well, I think if you would have asked me in January, it would have been outliving your money. But now we're worried about a virus. So that, and that's not a joke. I mean, that's the reality of being in an advice scenario, whether you're small business advisors in Gary Heldt, or whether you're Jerry Truman with Truman Wealth Management. The idea is it's a river and it's constantly moving. So the basis of that is if you have a plan, the most important thing is having that plan to start, because then you can adjust. I mean, we all know our life's changed. There's no, your life is going to change. You're going to have children. You're going to have grandchildren. You're going to move. You're going to change jobs. You're going to retire. Those things happen in your life. But if you, I think it's Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So we want to make sure that we have a plan that's in place. And I always say it's kind of like a blueprint on a whiteboard, right? We have the plan, it's situated, but we can always adjust it. And what we found that our clients were dealing with during this, this crazy time that we've been dealing with over the last year, is the ones that already had plans, we were able to work through that and make good, solid recommendations based on where their plans are. And obviously we know plans change. I mean, a lot of people are losing their jobs right now. And that's something that it's not to be run away from, it's to be addressed, and how we handle it and how we plan for it. God forbid that were to happen to some of our clients.
Right. So, I mean, you work with a wide variety of clients, different backgrounds, different wealths, and so forth. What are some of the issues that you have found to be very important that you've learned from in dealing with these clients?
I think when you're in a situation when you're dealing with clients, I think that, again, kind of going back to what I said before about having two ears and one mouth. I mean, really listening is an art. I think a lot of people in our situations, whether it's a CPA or financial advisor, we have a lot of information, and sometimes we want to, we want to talk, right? And really, the person that should be talking in these scenarios is our clients, and we should be listening to them. So I really think that honing your listening skills and making sure that we're hearing everything our clients are saying and asking follow-up questions and staying in that moment it's as vital and as important as managing the assets, and because you get to that management and you choose those investments based on where somebody is. And people ask about risk a lot. How much risk should I take or not take? I mean, we can all make projections about what risk is, but we really don't know risk until 50% of our business is shut down and our portfolio is down 30%. That's when you really find out where your risk is. But if you planned accordingly, right, that you have a year's reserves or whatever that plan would be for that particular individual, it allows them to take a step back and really take a look at the picture, even though they're in the middle of a heap of stuff going on at the moment. And I think what we try to do is make sure that we have that plan in place, so when these kind of situations arise, that we're able to give real specific advice and not panicked advice, right? I think that's, in good times and bad times, people make panic decisions, and those typically aren't the best way to make the decision. It may be the right decision to make the panic decision, but you want it to be based on factual situations and cooler thinking.
So, can you share with us any specific practices that you utilize that are big money savers for the high net worth clients?
Well, I think the most important part. Sorry, I'm having a little technological problem here with my AirPods. The most important part about what we do is it's not, we're just one arm of of a stool. It's important that we work with the accountant, the estate planning attorney. When we build these financial plans, it's great that it's in a nice binder, it's in a piece of paper, and it's got information. But if we're not implementing that and we're not taking the time to walk our clients through and having conversations with their CPAs and having conversations with their estate attorneys, having conversations with their real estate agents, if we're not providing those pieces to the puzzle, I feel like we're cutting our clients short. And I think that's a real important factor in whatever you're making any decisions, that you give an access line to the accountant, because what we don't want to be doing here is creating a lot of capital gains for somebody in any particular tax year. Meanwhile, they had some, they're in the process of selling their business. So it kind of comes back to listening and talking to your clients. You don't want to be blindsided, just like the CPA doesn't want to be blindsided. The advisor doesn't want to be blindsided. So the only way you could do that is being proactive about it, because the clients are just dealing with what's happening in front of them at the moment. Right. Your job is to make sure that they're seeing the big picture and that we're making sure we're giving them the best advice possible in that scenario.
Yeah. So, I mean, you say it, and that we work together as a team approach and kind of holistic, to make sure that everybody is kind of made aware of what's going on, so things aren't being done in a vacuum. And I find that's something that's really important. Are there any special strategies that you use to help provide the best results for your clients with their short-term and long-term planning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to the plan. It starts with the plan, and then the strategies that we'll utilize. We mentioned that, people's big concern is outliving income. So within their portfolio, they may have some investments that guarantee income, or, protect some principal and give them upside in conjunction with their individual equities that might be in their portfolio. So for each individual, we approach it that way. It's each individual's risk tolerance about how much money they want to keep in cash, how much money they want, quote unquote, in the market, right? And where that balance is. And it's not the same for everybody, and it changes. So again, kind of going back, I hate to keep coming back to it, but it's important. It's a contact sport. You need to be talking to your clients, not just when the market goes haywire like it did. You should be talking to them all the time, because really you don't know when their situation's changing. And God forbid they have a catastrophic situation. They're probably not thinking the first thing to do is call you. So
Right.
sometimes you've got to, you've got to be the one that's being proactive about it, and they've got to trust you. They've got to treat you. You've got to create a situation where you're their trusted advisor, that they can feel comfortable coming to you in any situation, and talking to you about how to work through whatever the scenario is, good or bad.
So what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing clients or potential clients make when it comes to their wealth management?
I think the biggest thing is, a lot of people like to do things on their own, and more power to you. I mean, that's there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're spending, you only have so much time in the day, right? And if you're spending, 50 hours a week at work, and you've got 2 kids, and you're spending time at home, and you're managing your stock portfolio, and boy, if you hung in there in technology over the last year, you've done pretty well. You could pick a slew of stocks and have had really strong performance. But really, what it comes down to is you can make decisions to buy things, but how do you know when to sell them? And I think that's the thing that people forget about a lot when they're making investments. And I use the example of GE. What a wonderful company. I mean, from being in this business 25 years, it created a lot of wealth for a lot of individuals and businesses that were with GE. And GE was the mothership. I mean, they were the cat's meow, and their stock's at $7 a share right now. And I know of people that have had the stock, that weren't clients, but well, it still pays a dividend. I'm getting a dividend. I was like, but your value just got cut by 80%.
Right.
So, and during the dot-com bust, we have countless examples of those. But I think GE is the real one, because that's a company that nobody ever thought could be at $7 a share. So the reality is, no matter how great you think your company is, or how great you think you're of a stock picker, it can make the fool of all of us. So the important part is to have somebody else giving you guidance to just say, hey, you know what, maybe you want to reduce some of your exposure there. I'm not telling you to sell all of your GE. I know you worked there for 25 years. You love it. It's your, you're tied to that company. But I do believe that diversification is important. And GE is the prime example. If it can happen to GE, it can happen to any stock that's out there.
So, I mean, that is definitely a great example of why it's important to use a professional like you to help with this. Give us another example of why it's important to have a professional like you helping.
I think, a lot of examples are coming up these days. I don't have to tell you, and I'm sure your listeners know, that people are buying and selling real estate. I mean, a lot of that is going on right now. And if you're out there on your own doing it, you may be in a poor, without really having to do that. We can create strategies where you can get, borrow money against your investments to be able to help facilitate that and make that process work a little better for you. So I just think it's always good to have somebody in your corner. And I know, Gary, when we've met with prospects and clients, I mean, the main thing is you don't have to do the business with Gary. You don't have to do the business with Jerry. The idea is that you just need to open your mind to doing it with somebody that you trust and can work with. Right. And I think the one thing I would say to anybody is at least run down the path of kind of like me with the technology and my 17-year-old, right? At least give somebody the idea to open your mind to it, because you'll be surprised that, you're running your business. There's a lot of things that you might miss, and you're missed out on opportunities, whether it's a tax savings, whether it's an investment idea, kind of all those pieces to the puzzle.
Right. What is one of the biggest challenges that you're facing right now?
Well, I would say about 2 years ago, organization, but that's changed. I think, trying to stay organized in a chaotic environment and staying focused on what you're doing, it takes a lot of energy and focus to do that. So you really, just as our clients need to step back and we need to help our clients step back, you and I as business owners need to step back and realize that we're in this mix too. Right. So sometimes we need to get advice from people. And just because I know investments doesn't mean I shouldn't be talking or leaning on somebody like you or another financial advisor to give me that advice. I think the one thing I think Warren Buffett says is don't be the smartest guy in the room. Right. Always try to surround yourself with people that can bring value to to your family, to your life, to your business, and I think that's an important piece.
Right. So what is your ideal, what does Jerry Truman's ideal client look like?
I mean, if we're talking straight numbers and dollars and cents, we like clients, individuals, business owners with $500,000 or more. I mean, that's a sweet spot, I would say, for a lot of financial advisors. But I'll be straight out honest with you. My first client that I dealt with in 1996 had 50 grand, and just, I guess, the way I grew up, my caring nature, whatever you want to call it, we're going to help people when we can, and if I can't help them, I'll find somebody that can. I just believe that everybody should have this opportunity to be able to work with somebody, and there's different peoples at different levels that will. So yes, there are, dollar amounts that make sense from a business standpoint, and we all have to run our business, but it doesn't mean that we're not there to help somebody. I think a very good example of that is we help a lot of our kids. I just got off the phone before we did this call with a 22-year-old son of one of our clients, and he's got a little bit of money to invest. So it's taking that time and realizing that it's not just money that's driving this avenue. It's people, and if you can take the time to spend it with people, then that's what's rewarding to me. I mean, like you asked me why I got into this business. Yes, I do love stocks. It interests me. It's something that I love being educated. I learn every day on it. I mean, there's no shortage of a flowing river that's always changing. But really, the reality of what we see is the people that we're dealing with, and I love dealing with people, and especially good people.
Right. So if somebody were to they want to get with you, or anytime you're getting ready to meet with a new client type thing, what is it that the client should have to be prepared for the meeting?
I think, Nicole and Steve are my teammates here at Truman Wealth Management, and Nicole runs our wealth plan for us. And she's got a great, 7 questions. Statements are the key because that tells us a lot of the picture, but it's just an interview process. We typically start with a phone call. We understand where you are and what you try to get a good picture of what your goals and objectives are. And then we build from there. And then it's, paper trail, your assets, your liabilities, insurance, those kind of things that will help the wealth plan that we'll build for you. And it adjusts, right? We may miss something. I can't tell you how many times I've done this and the client's like, oh yeah, I forgot about my $200,000 401k from 5 years ago.
Right.
And so it sometimes, I know it's crazy to think that people would forget about $200,000, but look, we all live our life. We're all taking, in a fast pace, right? We're taking care of our family. We're doing our business. We're taking care of our kids. We're going to soccer games or football games or whatever it might be. And people lose track of that. So consolidating it, historically people would say, oh, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Agreed. Don't put all your stock in GE, right? Don't put it all in one company. That
Right.
creates a lot of risk for you. But you can have it at one institution as long as it's diversified and the risk is spread out based on the plan that you create and the objectives that are being met from the plan.
So if our listeners like what they're hearing, they want to talk with Jerry Truman and see if there's a fit with you and them, how can they reach out to you?
Very simple. I mean, I would say start with an email. I think you've seen me kind of move my finger a couple of times. I'm on my iPhone right now, and we probably had 4 calls because most of my clients have my cell phone. So, we're always accessible to our clients. I think that's an important feature. Once you become a client, you are, we're available to you. We're not hiding, especially, in March of this year, we were definitely not hiding. We were putting in more time than ever, which is important. But I would say Jerry.Truman, that's with a J, Jerry, .Truman at rbc.com. Jerry.Truman at rbc.com. Drop me an email. I'm happy to respond. Let us know that you saw us on the podcast, and we'll go from there.
All right. So Jerry, I really appreciate your time. Today our guest has been Jerry Truman with RBC Management. Thank you, and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yep. Thank you, Gary.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.